Okay, this is a pre-use unit on our climbing spikes. I'll just demonstrate one spike because obviously they're both the same, but the things to look for with this one, as then we've got our metal points, primarily it's made out of metal, we've got our fabric and we've got our stitching in the sense that we've got grommets and we've got welds to look forward in this one. So starting with primarily the metal work, we're looking at is the shape of the gaff and the shape of the climber to make sure it's not deformed, to make sure it's whole, and as much as we can look underneath the cushion wraps to make sure there's no cracks, corrosions, and making sure that our bolts are in place holding the spike together. We look down here, make sure there's no cracks or corrosions, check at the ring as well, making sure that's fine. And again, with this we can rotate the ring slightly to check underneath it, move the straps out of the way as we're looking, ringing it around to make sure that ring is whole and complete and not coming apart. And very importantly, check to make sure that that ring, that the clasp there is nice and whole, it's not rusted, it's not corroded and not damaged. Come through to this bit, we're checking our gaff. We need to make sure the gaff is sharp. We need to make sure there's at least 37mm of gaff sticking up that we can use. You can use your gaff gauge to make sure that it's in the right correct shape. And very importantly, we need to make sure that these are in place and they're not loose and coming out, because otherwise the gas can come away from the spike. Moving up the shaft, we get towards the top where the cushion wraps are held. And again, we can have a look underneath slightly by moving the webbing out of the way, seeing how the tags are in place, how the top of the shaft is in place, whether there's any cracks or corrosions or deformation. Once we're happy with that, we can move on to look at the cushion wrap itself. Look at that. Is it whole? Is it complete? Is the stitching there? Now, we must remember that climbing spikes are not classed as PPE. They do need to be checked every day though, but they do not have an individual serial number for you to track like other pieces of harness do. But they will have their tag to make sure it's been inspected, because under Lola these are inspected at least every 6 months as well, to make sure, because they do support a load. Key one to look through then is obviously the buckles. Make sure that they do up, make sure that they are fine, and make sure that the straps are whole and complete. As we push that through, we make sure that it will tighten and it will hold. When I pull it, tuck it out of the way, make sure it's all nice and good. Once we're happy with that, check the Velcro on our cushion wraps, make sure that they are nice and secure as well. Once we've had a look through, we actually fit it onto our feet, and that's a better way of checking the things. One key thing to try and remember is to make sure, nice and legible, just for us, is that we have our little R and our L marks on there, which really helps when we're putting them on, which we'll cover in a little while.